Welcome to Season 7 of FYI. This season, instead of tackling topics, we'll discover the most common verbs in the English language. What do you say I tell you all about say and tell on this week's episode of FYI? Welcome to For Your Info.
Inglés.
You got it. Hello. Welcome to this episode of FYI on Say and Tell. I'm going to tell you a lot of things in this episode, so make sure you guys are ready to translate with me. Remember, I'm going to be challenging you throughout the whole episode from start to finish. So be ready for anything. Expect the unexpected, because as you know, I don't want to just know that you're familiar with these words, but I also want to know that you know how to use them and that you're comfortable using them and you're confident using them. And what's the best way to be confident when you're speaking? Well, the more you speak, the more confident you'll be. It's just like everything. Practice makes perfect. So remember, this is a podcast, and in a normal podcast, you would listen. But here, I want you to interact. And if you've been doing that, great job. And today, for the first time in Season 7, we're going to be taking a look at two verbs. So you're going to get two for the price of one today. And my amigos, I have heard so many mistakes with say and tell. So what do you say I tell you about say and tell? What do you? Fijaos, I didn't say, what do you say? ¿Qué dices si te? I say, what do you say I tell you about? So el what are you going to do? Suena como una palabra árabe. Where are you from? What are you? Oh, is that in Saudi Arabia? What are you going to do? Hey, it sounds ridiculous, but if you can associate that sound, el what are you is what are you? Hey, you can always say, what are you going to do? But remember, we're working on putting our words together. At least if you're like me, I've been learning Spanish for 46 years. My whole life, I've been learning Spanish, and I'm still learning things every day. And I'm still working on trying to sound as much like you guys, a native Spanish speaker, as possible. So the only way to really do that is to repeat the stuff aloud. And a quick reminder, if you want a bonus episode, because in the bonus episode, we take a look at all the phrasal verbs, we take a look at it in pop culture, and we also have a little challenge at the end just to make sure you got it. So if you want access to that bonus episode, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. There you'll see I have an amazing community of over 200 students. Hey, they deserve it. And those students, depending on what level they're in, they can get access. Well, all the students in my community get access to the bonus episode. Then, if you're in a higher level, you can get the PDFs. So I literally send you the script, and you can take notes and follow along. And I think that's really, really important. I mean, this could be a really good study guide. And at the end of it all, at the end of Season 7, you'll have a book. The PDFs will be one book of the most essential verbs, examples, and even some translations to make sure you got it. And those translations go from easier to harder. And there's something new we're doing in Season 7 as well, and that's a vodcast, a portmanteau, if you will, of a video podcast. So a shout out to all my patrons who are getting that bonus content. Especially my super duper students, Marta, Javier, and Paco. And my interstellar students, Carmen, Lina, Isa, Paco, David, Jose Maria, and Edgar. The students who all even have class with me. So it depends on how much you want to learn, how hungry you are for more. You can always just listen to the free episode every week, which that's made with TLC, just like everything else I do. And a quick reminder, I'm sure many of you know this. If not, check it out. I've got a radio show, a daily radio show, which you can watch live on YouTube or you can stream from the Vaughn Radio app. Just search for The Show with No Name and then put my name, Alberto Alonso. And that's just another way you can improve your English. I also have 5 books, not to brag. I'm not here to say, oh, look at me and my 5 books. But I'm saying if you're listening to this right now, it's because you want to learn English. And do you want to have fun while you learn English? Well, that's my philosophy. That's my motto. So let's have some fun as we take a look at say and tell. The first thing we're going to do is conjugate the verb to say. Why? You don't know how many times I've heard people say, says. My brother says. My sister says. No. Y en un mundo lógico, sí. In a logical world, it would be because I say, she says, right? This is English. It's says. Says. It reminds me of that game we used to play as kids. Simon says. Simon says, touch your nose. Simon says, stretch your arms over your head. Simon says, right? So say it with me. Again, really important that you repeat whatever I tell you to repeat aloud because it's for you. I already know how to pronounce it, obviously. So, and when I tell you these are the big mistakes, it's based on over 20 years of experience, thousands of hours of classes to thousands of students and still going. So, and hours, no, days, weeks, months of content if you count FYI and if you count the show with no name. So these are the big ones. Says, let's practice it. My sister says she's not coming. My sister says, mi hermana dice que no viene. All right. The other problem I find here is people mix up the past tense and they say said, otra vez, el mismo sonido vocal. And this one is said. So let's take a look at them again. Say them with me. We'll do an example. My sister says, I'm lazy. Says, lazy, similar sound there. Z. So my sister says, I'm lazy. I said, she's lazy, right? Yo dije. So practice those because, I mean, if you have to just say, I said this, I said no, I said yes, I said stop, I said go, do it a million times until you never, ever say said or says again. And you say said and says. All right. Now, when do we use say? Well, as I just said, my sister says she's hungry when I'm telling you what somebody said. Now, the thing here with say and tell, how do we sum it up? ¿Cómo lo resumimos? Because we can get into, well, this is without a direct object, and this one uses a direct object. The direct object is the listener, the person who's receiving the message. So how do I sum all this up? The difference between say and tell. And then again, we'll find some idiomatic expressions and things later on. But in the grammatical sense of the word, I said no. I said I'm not going to go. I said whatever. It doesn't matter who I said it to. Da igual. El que recibe mi palabra, right? He said he's not coming. It's not important. He told me he's not coming. Ahora sí. So we generally use tell, excuse me, not to. We generally use tell when the person who's receiving your message is important or is included in the sentence. And we'll take a look at some examples right now. So let's try said without a direct object. Okay, let's see if you know this one. It's a little bit complicated. Él dijo que viniera, right? Él dijo que viniera. He said, dijiste said or said? He said he would come or he'd. Él dijo que viniera, ¿no? Que iba a venir. He said he'd come. All right. All right. Now let's try it with a direct object. Usually it's a phrase that follows it. She said, I'm going to the market. Now, here we're telling you exactly what the person said. So let's use my sister, since that's the example I've been using. My sister said she wouldn't take anything that I gave her, right? My sister said, okay, so I'm paraphrasing what she said. But also I can say, my sister said, there's no way in hell I'm going. No, and I quote. So it can be a quote or it can not be a quote. The important thing is it doesn't matter who she's saying it to. All right? Okay, good, good, good. Now we cleared that up. A couple other key points, puntos claves, when we're talking about the verb to say. It's often used when the focus is on the words spoken. So when the actual words are important, you're not paraphrasing. He said, and I quote, I will never do it again over my dead body, as we say. I think you say the same thing, over my dead body. It's usually followed by a clause or a quote, una cita, as we said. And reviewing, excuse me, and I think this is the most important part, there's no need to mention who's being spoken to. It's not important in this one. When it is important, we use tell. All right? And tell. How do we conjugate tell? All right. Easy, right? But I don't want you to just conjugate it like take, took, taken. Why? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's just three words that you're throwing into the air and see what happens. But always practice your irregular verbs, your three columns, el take, took, taken, saying, every day I tell stories. Yesterday, tu turno. Yesterday I told stories. And lately, I've told stories. Why? Because now you're not just practicing three words, you're practicing three structures. And you're remembering and reinforcing why you're using each one. Yesterday, I told her that, right? Yesterday, I told. So you're reinforcing told yesterday, algo en el pasado. And the third column, lately, últimamente, which is an indicator that we're in the present perfect. So if you use those three words and practice them aloud, you're not just going to learn irregular verbs. You're going to learn how to use them. And isn't that what we're here to do? To put everything into practice, usage? All right. So tell, told, or every day I tell lies. Remember, we don't say lies, we tell lies, contar mentiras. And we'll look at some collocations in a little bit. So every day I tell lies. Yesterday, tu turno. Yesterday, I told lies. And lately, muy importante el v, porque es el have, I've told lies. Did you say it correctly? All right, great. Now, as we already said, this is used when there's a specific listener or recipient, somebody receiving the information. So let's look at the structure with a direct object. A direct object, again, is the listener. She told him the news. She told him the news. She told him. See, now we know who's receiving the message. And remember, it's not the new, la noticia. We say the news, right? Have you heard the news? ¿Has oído la noticia? Yes, she told me the news. Me lo contó a mí. You can also use it with a clause. No, not Santa Claus. I mean a clause in a sentence. So he told me that he was coming. Me dijo que iba a venir, que viniera. He told me that he was coming, right? So again, we're right after the word tell, we put who's receiving your message, okay? Some key points. It always requires a listener, right? If not, you're going to use say. It also focuses on the act of conveying information. So it's not just about the message here and the words that were said, but it's about who told who. It's about the way the message spread, right? Spread. Difundirse, I think you say. Extenderse. Well, it makes sense in English, that word, because you can spread rumors, news can spread, but you can also spread butter on your bread. Extender, right? Also difundir. I love when words become more than words and they become ideas. So, yes, and it's often used for instructions, narratives, and information. All right. So, I hope you guys got that. Let's see if you can figure out these examples of say. We're going to take a look at some common examples of say, but we're going to play with them. And I'm going to make sure you guys really get not just these words, say and tell, but also the different structures. Okay. In fact, when I just said say and tell, it reminded me of show and tell. Do you know what this is? Show and tell is something we do when we're kids in the United States, in kindergarten, even preschool, I think. And you have to bring something in, whether, it can be a doll, it can be the program from the theater, whatever. It can be any something that you found, a rock, a stone, and you have to get up in front of the class and you have to show it and you have to tell them all about it. And it's a really good exercise. I do it in my classes sometimes as well, where you have to talk about an object or a topic, right? So show and tell, really good because it teaches kids not only about public speaking and getting up in front of a crowd, but also what it's like to be in the audience and to be on both sides of that table, right? Think about that. Because if you know the nerves, the stage fright, well, then you'll give somebody else your undivided attention and you'll be respectful when that person is on stage. Okay. She said, I will be there at 7 p.m. Quiero que lo contraes tú primero. She said, this is a direct quote, I'll be there at 7 p.m. Bueno, ves, lo he contraído sin querer ahí. Did you say I'll? I'll. Eso es. She said, I'll be there at 7 p.m. Ella dijo, estaré ahí a las 7. How would you make that into a question? ¿A qué hora dijo que estará ahí? What time did she say she'll be there? Woo! If you got that one. What time did she say she'll, contraemos siempre porque es más natural. What time did she say she'll be there? Woo! If you got that one, give yourself a round of applause. Okay. Él dijo, es un día precioso. Come on, that's an easy one. The other one was harder. He said, dijiste said or said? He said, it's a beautiful day, and don't let it get away. By the way, get next week. Well, not next week, the next show. We're taking a break now for August, but get is coming up next, folks, and you are definitely going to learn a lot because I think get is our wild card, nuestro comodín in English. It works for everything. All right, I said English. I just invented a new language, guys. All right, well, we just looked at some direct quotes. Let's look at reported speech. They said they would meet us at the restaurant. Can we contract that at all? They said they would meet us at the restaurant. Muy común. Dijeron que quedarían con nosotros en el restaurante o en el sitio, right? They said they'd. So they would, we can contract. They said they'd meet us at the restaurant. They said they'd meet us at the restaurant. Did you get it right? Good. All right. The teacher said the exam will be next week. All right. Do you want to try and turn that into a question? The teacher said the exam will be next week. When did the teacher say the exam will be? Whoa, we are getting into some superstar territory here. All right. Now we also use it in expressing opinions or statements. Statements son afirmaciones. I would say that this is the best option, right? Yo diría, right? So if you want to say yo diría, I'd say la gente dice, right? So when we're expressing an opinion or a statement, we use say as well. Again, this is all in the PDF document. So if you're getting lost, you don't have to. Just join us over on patreon.com/Alberto Alonso, and you'll get PDFs, bonus episodes, and so much more. So let's see if you can contract that one for me. I would say that this is the best option. Did you say I'd say? I'd say, muy importante, yo diría, no, esta estructura lo usamos mucho. I'd say that this is the best option. You could also say the best choice as well. All right, the next one. People say that he is very talented. People say. ¿Y qué si digo everybody ahí? ¿Qué si cambiamos people por everybody? ¿Qué pasa? Dímelo ahora. Todo el mundo dice que él tiene mucho talento. Everybody says. Did you say says? No, it says. Everybody says that he is very talented. He's very gifted. We looked at those words in the FYI episode on talent. I believe that was season 6. All right. Also, we use it in indirect speech. So when you're telling somebody what somebody said. So ella dijo que ya se estaba sintiendo mejor. Ooh, that's difficult for me in Spanish. She said she was feeling better, right? Ahora, si quieres decir, me dijo a mí, she told me she was feeling better. That's another exercise you can do. You can take a sentence with say and make it tell, and take a tell sentence and make it say. Hey, just to make sure you're mastering them. And remember, more important than writing down these examples, it's saying them aloud, en voz alta. So she said she was feeling better. O si ya vamos a decir que es importante a quien se lo contó. She told her mother she was feeling better. And I saw her mother the other day at the supermarket. Right? Ahí, la persona que recibe es parte de la historia. It's important information in the sentence, right? And the last one was say, and then we'll take a look at some examples with tell. He said he had finished his homework. Can we contract that? Él dijo que había terminado sus deberes. He said he'd. Eso es. Did you say he'd? Good job. He said he'd finished, acaba con T, aunque es ed, his homework. Homework nunca con ese, que lo hemos visto. All right? All right, let's take a look at tell with direct instructions. She told him to wait outside. The mistake I find here, a lot of people say, she told to him. Do you make that mistake? Then I want you to write down on the PDFs, she told to him, and then cross it out, and then put it correctly under it. She told him to wait outside. Le dijo que esperara fuera. She told him, mira cómo me como la H también. She told him to wait outside. All right, another one where we look at direct instruction. He told her to bring the documents. Él le dijo a ella. Otra vez, no, he told to her. Justo después de tell es donde va la persona, right? Que recibe el mensaje. So es ella en este caso. He told her to bring the documents. Y cuidado, la pronunciación no es documents, it's documents. Documents. Also, when we're reporting information, I told my friend about the party. Vamos a hacer la pregunta. ¿Le contaste a tu amiga sobre la fiesta? So the answer, I told my friend about the party. Did you? Did you tell your friend about the party? Yeah, I told my friend about the party. Oh, no, I didn't tell. Remember, it's not I didn't told. I didn't tell, en la negación, my friend about the party. The bash, el fiestón. All right, and another one with reporting information. He told me that he got a new job. He told me that he got a new job? Can you give me the question? Did he tell you he got a new job? Did you get it right? Awesome job. Awesome job. All right. Also, we use it narrating stories. Let's look at that word. Narration, narrator, narrating. Woo. I know you say narrador, es parecido, pero la pronunciación no. Por eso me fijé. All right. Nos contó una historia graciosa. This one's yours. Ella nos contó una historia graciosa. She told us a funny story. That's right. Did you say fun? Fun es divertido, funny, graciosa. She told us a funny story, right? All right, another one. Él le contó a los niños un cuento antes de dormir. He told the children, acuérdate, el que recibe el mensaje después de tell, sin nada, sin un to. He told the kids, más fácil que children, ¿no? Porque es un plural regular. Si no es child, children. Yo siempre recomiendo kid, kids, porque además se usa mucho. So he told the kids a bedtime story. You can say a story before bed, but ya usamos bedtime como adjetivo. Mommy, can you tell me a bedtime story and tuck me in? To tuck in es meter en la cama. We looked at this one in the home episode of FYI. We also use this verb when we are giving directions. Can you tell me? Yo hasta, para ser más polite, diría, could you tell me how to get to the station? ¿Me podría contar cómo llegar a la estación? Could you tell me how to get to the station? Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? Hey, we have lyrics. And if you haven't heard the episodes on Sesame Street, give them a listen. Can you tell me how to get to? Me podría decir, y un poco más polite, could you tell me how to get to? All right. Also conveying messages. Please tell him I called. Could you tell him I called? Could you tell him I stopped by? Le dices que me pasé, right? Also, another example with conveying, transmitiendo messages. She told me to remind you about the meeting. Me dijo que te recordara sobre la reunión. She told me to tell you. Those are difficult structures, but practice makes perfect. And a couple mistakes before we look at some synonyms and antonyms for both words. The mistake I hear, aside from the ones we've looked at, said and says, is I've heard people say, she said me the news. What's wrong there? Correct it for me. She said me the news. Estamos poniendo quién recibe el mensaje, entonces, ¿cuál usamos? Muy bien. She told me the news. Me contó la noticia. Okay, let's try another one with tell, a common mistake. She told, I'm hungry. She told, I'm hungry. She told me I'm hungry, or she said, quote, I'm hungry, right? So again, once you know you can't mix them up, you can switch them around. That's a great exercise, as I said before. Aunque sería raro decir, she said the news to me, porque ya es frase hecha. And we're going to take a look at a lot of idiomatic expressions, a lot of phrasal verbs, and we're going to look at these words in pop culture in the bonus episode. Let's take a look at some synonyms for tell, to inform, to notify, to advise. Cuidado con esa, porque advice, sustantivo, advise, aconsejar, verbo. No se pronuncian igual, ni se deletrean igual. To instruct, to relay. We said to convey, to relay, transmitir. Some antonyms for tell. Some antonyms for tell, to conceal, no? To hide something. To withhold. Esa es muy buena. To withhold information. To suppress. To cover up. Also, let's look at some synonyms for say. To speak. To utter. To declare. To state. To express. Some antonyms for say. to listen, to hear, to be silent, to keep quiet, and also mute. Mudo, you say in Spanish. Well, folks, that is the end of the first episode. I hope you guys join us in the bonus episode where I'm going to tell you lots more about say and tell.